Hey, as you can see behind me, I'm doing this during Thanksgiving. Well, not actually Thanksgiving, but the week of Thanksgiving. I forgot to make it last week. And we actually went through this topic last week. But today's topic is about dating and intimate partner violence. And a lot that we're going to go through. There's a lot of different professional videos on here on YouTube that are better than mine. And I will recommend for you based on the website. The website topic is in the details, and I will be able to show that to you. But I do want to go through a few things that is important for you to understand, or that are important for you to understand. So we're talking about dating and intimate partner violence. And as you may recall, it is a category of violence that is separate from the others. We have physical, verbal, emotional, sexual. Dating violence is its own. Intimate partner violence is its own category. And if you went to the website, there's a long story about it and a lot of different graphics. You're looking at one that says respect. And there's a few things I want to point out to you about this. Unfortunately, the largest number of the vast majority, so to speak, of cases of domestic violence and dating violence comes from a man to a woman. But it can happen in any relationship, in any gender and gender identity. And I really just want to point out a few things for you. All right, here we go. I really just want to point out a few things for you here in this display. So here's my webpage, Dating and Intimate Partner Violence. As you can see, I scrolled down and I clicked on some images and stuff that I want to share with you. I also want to point out a bunch of other videos. So these two videos here, tools for talking to teens. Let me put some annotation tools. I don't know if these will show up in a video or not, but I'm going to do it. So tools for talking to teens and the signs. These are both required videos from the CDC's 3R curriculums that I posted on here for you to be able to see. And it puts you through the signs of intimate partner violence and how a relationship changes from la la land, everything is great because you're in the honeymoon phase, to this obsession that goes and turns into violence. And so you can go and do that. There's also a few videos about domestic violence signs, intimate partner violence. That one's more for teenagers. Then there's a news article, teen dating violence news report. Hold on, this is not scrolling. Teen dating violence news report. There's a Verizon made this public service announcement called Teen Speak Up. It's really, really good, where a few students go and speak about their experiences. Break the Silence is the CDC's professional made PSA about stopping intimate partner violence. And then there's some really interesting ones that I decided to include. Like this one right here is from The Atlantic, right? I know a lot of you don't like The Atlantic because of political views, but this particular documentary is about 45 minutes long, and it's convicted abusers, people who were convicted of dating violence, and you see them in their group therapy sessions. So that's really interesting and very kind of cool, looking in the mind of an abuser. Down here, I have a video that's called Kim and Vernon. It is a original. This is the only place you can find this too, as far as I know. This is a digital recording of a VHS tape that was given to us when I first started teaching in 1997. It was recorded in 94 or 95, and it's students, it's student actors, and it's really well done concerning it's very well done concerning relationship changes. The acting is, they're not professionals, so you can understand that. But it's a fabulous video in the concept of a relationship being great in the beginning, built on infatuation, and then going towards obsession, and then having controlling being involved, making it an unhealthy relationship, and then leading to dating violence. So it's really, really good for you to do that. It's about 15 minutes long. Next to it is a full-length feature. This is a free version on YouTube, so it's kind of grainy. The one I show in class is a purchased version. But in any case, Reviving Ophelia. It's based on a book by a woman named Mary Pfeiffer. It's a made-for-TV movie. It does have some real celebrities in it. I won't get into it too much. And it's one of those movies, I describe it as my students as, it's a lower budget made-for-TV movie that when you first look at it, you'll like tease and complain and go on and like be like, oh, I don't want to watch this. But then once you get into it, you're like, you can't turn it off. Like you're mad when the bell rings when we're watching it in class together. And then there's a spoken word here between two former students, not of Rush, but students in high school that from some other school. They posted it on YouTube. And there's a lot of similar ones like that. And then there's a really good one for those of you that have mentioned or thinking to yourself that it's not just girls being victims. And it's called the hidden camera. It's on the doctors, and a hidden camera shows you the double standard reaction of what's going on. So before I go and get into that, I just want to also say that dating violence is super serious. And although in my voice, I'm sounding like just normal, there's a lot of things that you need to know about it that I don't know why these images are not showing. So I guess I have to go back. Okay. Anyway, there's a lot of things that you should all know about it that is super important. And the first thing is this idea of the cycle of abuse. So I took this off Google. I don't know where I took it, so sorry for giving someone credit. But you have these tensions build, and then there's the incident that happens. There's the violence, whether it's verbal violence, emotional violence, physical violence, arguing, threats, intimidation. And then you go to the reconciliation phase. I'm so sorry. Here's the flowers. Or they blame. It's your fault you made me get angry. And I'm not talking about you're in a legitimate argument and people raise their voices. Sometimes that's going to happen. I mean, they're attacking you. They attack the person, not the problem. With the incident, they are taking things out on you. They are showing you that they want to be in control and stuff like that. And then the reconciliation part where they go and they try to make up with you. Then there's calm and everything's good and nothing's really happening. And then it recycles itself. And as you can see on the graphic next to it, domestic violence can include physical, sexual, emotional, verbal, social. It can also include damaging property. It can include financial abuse. Like all of this is domestic violence. And it's repetitive in nature and something that you need to recognize. There is no excuse for abuse, but there is reasons. So I'll go back. Pause it and try to think about why somebody would be the aggressor in dating violence. All right, assuming that you paused it, now you're back. You probably didn't, but here is a graphic organizer I created. I got these articles from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Rape. No, I didn't. I got it from the National Center on Domestic and Sexual Violence, which is a different organization. But here they are in graphic form. So you have lack of communication and positive coping skills. Okay. You have inability to deal with anger. You have mental illness. We've talked about all of those in class already during the school year. The inability to deal with anger, like I remind you of the quote that I said, anger is one letter short of danger. So you're not able to deal with anger, then obviously your anger can lead to aggression. Your aggression can lead to hurting somebody, and then you have an issue. But then you also have lack of communication and positive coping skills. So if you don't have the ability to cope with stress management, tell somebody how you're feeling or how they're making you feel, then that could also lead to attacks at somebody, verbal violence, emotional violence, and in some cases, unfortunately, physical violence. Mental illness, not all mental illness results in violence, but some do. So we need to take that into consideration. And then you have learned behavior and history of abuse sort of connect it. So you learned it from somewhere. How do you may have learned how to be treated in a relationship. You may have learned how to treat someone in a relationship, and you may have learned it wrongly. You may have learned it so that the way that you're treating someone is as property and not as a person. Along with that, you might have been the victim of abuse, or you may have witnessed someone in your family be a victim of abuse. And that could cause you to also be a victim or allow yourself to be a victim. With the aggressor, you may have witnessed someone being an aggressor, and that could cause you to necessarily think this is how you do it in a relationship and be the aggressor. Emotional immaturity. We spent some time in class talking about this, but you're just not emotionally ready to be in a relationship. You're not capable of being a person involved in a mature relationship that's intimate. So that's something. But the blue one is probably the biggest, and I'll circle it again for your pleasure. Almost always, the main reason is for power or control. You want control over somebody. You want control over what is happening in the relationship. And that's super important that you recognize that. Along with that, and these graphics do work, there's the power and control wheel. This is the adult version. You can pause it if you want to look at it more. But you also, here's the teen version. And you'll notice that they're very male-centric in terms of male aggressor, female victim. And that's because statistically speaking, that's usually what happens. The teen one is not as male-centric as the adult one, but just so that you know. And it really all comes down to one teen trying to have power and control over the other teen. So you should look this up to get a more clear copy and be able to go with that. The only other final thing that I want to do and share with you is on the webpage, there are some really good articles to go along with the additional videos that I showed. There's also a really good song called It Stops With Us that I won't play, but it was released on limited single in the Philadelphia area not too long ago. You should go to the website and hear it. It's really great, sick beat. It's just awesome. But I want to show with you the Keep Relationships Safe follow-up handout, and also the Is Your Relationship Healthy quiz. Loveisrespect.org is a really good website having to do with trying to prevent dating violence and having healthy relationships. And they have a quiz that I'm just going to share with you really quickly. If you click on it, it's basically this PDF file that you can take a quiz and answer yes or no about healthy relationships and is your relationship healthy. That's from loveisrespect.org. I really recommend going to that site if you have any additional questions. And they're professional and way better than just my simple health class things. Although I know a lot of you appreciate the health class things I'm doing, but just to say, loveisrespect.org is a great organization to be able to give you some information. I don't work for them, but I want to recommend them to you on your benefit. But I also want to remind you of something that we talked about in class. And if you weren't in my class, then here it is. This is Mr. Karabi's ways to keep relationships safe. This was the summary after you did small group work. So number one is find your absolute 100% non-negotiable character traits you're looking for in a partner and stick with them. Do not settle thinking you will change them. Number two is you call the 7 things and any additional things and keep working at them. So for number 1 and number 2, watch my previous videos about building the perfect partner and about the 7 things needed for a relationship to succeed. Number 3, go slow. Number 4, if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. So use your gut feeling sometimes. 5, they are your partner, not your parent. Number 6, talk and be honest about your personal beliefs, wants, and needs, including sex. So it goes with communication, okay? Number 7, set your sexual limitations for yourself in advance and know what role you want sex to play in your relationship, which goes along with number 8, if agreeing to have sex, give and get consent. It's not just get consent, give it too. Let your person know what you're comfortable with doing. Now, for those of you that are watching this and you're a parent, I am absolutely not advocating for high school age young people to go and be sexually active. What I am saying is that the law allows for a person in the state of Pennsylvania to basically give consent at age 16, with some other caveats having to do with what that means in terms of giving and getting consent. There's some rules in the state of Pennsylvania about the number of age difference and things like that. But one way or the other, they can make this decision. So parents, you may not want your child to be sexually active, and students, you may not want to be sexually active yet, but at some point in your life, you may want to. And whatever that means for you, whether you're waiting till you're out of school, whether you're waiting till you're married, whether you're waiting till you're in a long-term committed relationship, whether you're waiting till you're 40, I don't know what the waiting is, but whether you're waiting, you need to let your partner know. What am I willing to do? What am I not willing to do? What am I okay with? And, yes means yes. No means no, but yes means yes. And that's that. You can look at the consent page on my website for additional information on that. That said, I'm moving right along. Number 9, date or hang out in groups at first. The question is, how long should that be? 10. Again, I'm not promoting underage drinking, but I know that lots of high school teenagers do drink. So if you're going to, avoid getting drunk, at least for a while, around your new partner. I would suggest that adults even should never get drunk, that when they drink, it should be only in social terms and never to an excess where there's too much. But what do I know? I'm only a health teacher. So if you're going to, and not that I've never gotten drunk before by accident, but some people, they purposely do it all the time. And that's a conversation for a different day about excessive drinking, binge drinking, alcoholism, problem drinking, those kinds of issues. But we can talk about that during substance abuse unit. But if you're going to drink at all, even though you're not supposed to because you're not of legal age yet, you really need to make sure that you don't get drunk around a partner. How long do you take care of that? I don't know. You have to make that determination on your own, but definitely not when you first meet someone. 11, embrace each other's friends, not just one or the other. So it might be that you spend less time with your friends, but you don't want to just forget you have friends. Okay. Because number 13, I skipped 12 for a second. You're adding them to your life. You're not making a whole new life with them. You're adding them to your life. Now, if it ends up being a long-term relationship that includes engagement and marriage or something like that, then yeah, your life's just changing. Now you're building a life together. I get it, but you're in high school. So right now you're adding each other to each other's life. You will mutually be part of each other's life. You're not going and making a one single new life at that moment. Along with that, backing up to number 12, you should not usually hide your relationship from your family. You should not hide your relationship. I would contest that you always tell your parents everything and that you let them know and that you follow your parents' rules. If they don't want you to be in a relationship, then don't. Don't sneak it and hide it behind their back because what you want, you think is more important than what they want from you. There is a disclaimer. I do realize that if you have a sexual orientation that your parents disagree with, and that some of you may make it so that there's an unsafe environment within your home. I'm not saying that that definitely happens, but I'm saying that unfortunately, there are some young people that are kicked out of their homes because of their sexual orientation, or other things happen because of their sexual orientation that make it so that it's a violent place to live. In those cases, I would suggest that you don't go and develop a serious relationship, in which case you don't have to have the pressure of telling your parents or not. You should still be honest with them. But that would be a caveat where I would understand that you didn't talk to your parents about the relationship. But in general, you always should be upfront and honest with your parents. And what I say to my child is, always tell the truth and always let me know what's going on. I will be there to support you and love you. I might not like everything you're doing and there might be a consequence to your actions, but the consequence will be a lot less than if I catch you sneaking behind my back or lying about it. So keep that in mind. 13, add your partner to, oh, I said that already, never mind. 14, remember the warning signs that we talked about in these videos that you kind of saw on the other videos that you saw in class that you can look up on my website about the warning signs of unhealthy relationships. Remember them and use your brain more than, and your senses more than your heart and emotions. Now, earlier I said, go with your gut feeling. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. If it does feel right, then maybe you need to think to yourself, my first gut instinct is not always the right one. So in this case, it feels so right. Okay, is it? So go through the warning signs. Are the warning signs there? Don't be blinded to them. 15, don't make or agree to promises that can't be kept. 16, remember to practice good self-defense. In the event that you have to, number 1, be aware of your surrounding situation. 2, try to avoid the danger. 3, try to prevent the situation from escalating. Be clear, concise, such as no means no. If necessary, protect yourself with physical confrontation, but you have to follow up. You have to create a report. You have to tell the authorities. It has to be controlled. It can't be just be wild and just to an extreme, but you have to follow up. You can't keep it a secret. 7, know your rights, respect, and responsibility. You have a right to feel safe in a relationship. Your partner does too. You should give your partner respect, and you should expect respect from them too. And you have a responsibility to treat your partner with kindness, but you also have a responsibility to help keep yourself safe. You are your first person that's under the ability to be able to stay safe or get safe. And if you don't know how to do that, then you're at a disadvantage. With that said, I'm not victim blaming. I'm not victim blaming at all, but I am saying that you have a responsibility to be able to try to keep yourself safe. So as hard as it is, use your head instead of your heart. If your gut feeling says that it's probably not right, listen. If your gut feeling says that it is right, double check. Make sure your gut's telling you the truth. Have a great rest of your day. And if you are watching this around this time, then happy Thanksgiving.